Thank you very much. So I basically wanted to talk about a crazy thing that happened. So I'm on the advisory board of a private art school up in San Francisco called the Academy of Art University. And once a year, they fill a private jet with a bunch of fancy people and me. It was a huge mistake. And they fly us up and they show us through their spring show and they say, give us feedback and tell us what's wrong. The thing about the school is that they are incredible artists. Their illustration, their animation departments are stunning. Their School of Game Design department is actually teaching them great art skills. But they weren't shipping a lot of games. And so I would lay into the director, saying, dude, you got to ship games because the game industry is horribly cruel to people that don't ship games. And then finally he pushed back on me and said, well, you should teach, which I found completely terrifying. But the second time he said it, I thought, I gotta give this a try. It was scary as hell. You know, the problem with teaching the next generation is that you want to lead by example, but you know because you're older that you're slower and dumber than the young people. And so you're like, how can I do that? My idea was to make them ship a game every week. And then if they got that right, they could ship a game, they could work on a game for 2 weeks that was based on a 1-week game, sort of like doing the sequel, right? But with the better production values. And if that works, okay, 4 weeks, right? And it was horribly cruel and unusual because my first day of class, I came to the faculty is super cool, and they said, whatever you do, don't be nice to the kids starting out. They won't respect you, and they'll take advantage of you. So my first day of class, I came in and I'm paraphrasing, but it's not too far off. I basically said, my name is Dave Taylor. I'm a working producer. I've got multiple projects. I don't have time for you. I'm going to tell you what I need you to do. I'm not going to repeat myself. This first week, you're going to do homework on engines. And you're going to all give reports on what you found out about the engines out there. The next week, you're going to ship your first game. And if you don't ship at this time next week, or that following week, that's an F. And if you do ship, you get an A for half your grade, so you can't fail. And the other half is based on quality. It's more complex than that. Basically, what I said is I want about 10 levels, and I want you to do a nice sawtooth progression curve. So first, let's spend 3 levels teaching them how to navigate. And we're going to harder, harder, harder. We're going to drop down a little bit, get a little easier on the navigation. We're going to teach them something new like jumping. Harder, harder, harder. We're going to pull down, get a little easier. Now you're mixing in both the navigation and the jumping. We're going to get harder, harder, harder on shooting or something, right? But whatever the game is, make it this really wussy, kind of easy learning curve. I wanted to teach them how unpleasant pacing is and why that's really just kind of most of the sauce, right? So the structure of the class, they were smallish. They were like a dozen people, roughly. There would be about 8 minutes to play and review the game. Either I would play it or I'd get a volunteer from the class to play it, and they'd go through it. And then I'd pass some horrible summary judgment, get rid of them. And then once we were done with all the games, we'd get another 8 minutes, roughly, to come up with a name and a high concept and a core gameplay mechanic or a set of small gameplay mechanics for the next week's game. Small note, most of these guys had never shipped a game before. Most of them had never programmed anything before. And yet they still owed me a game at the end of that first week. And part of my attitude is that just the way teaching happens has changed now. You just go to Google and there's video tutorials, and that time together in class is precious time that you want to use to basically have them talking to each other and working with brainstorming and getting feedback. Starting out, every student was basically tasked with being a producer. And there's a lot of definitions of producer. My definition of producer for the purposes of this class was, it's your ass. You are responsible. If you deliver a great game, you're the producer on a great game. That's awesome. You should probably give credit to your team. If you deliver it all yourself, that's great. You're going to get a great grade. If you sucker someone else into making some part of it for you, awesome. Now you're a really badass producer. However, if that person screws up, it's your ass. It's your grade. The school was just super crazy supportive. They set up a simulated portal. I wanted them to ship, and that means you got to submit your executables. Here's your web executable, PC, Mac. You have your copy, your screenshots. Here's an example that has a trailer, and then you come up with a compelling high concept and name. One of the things, I'm sure as you all know, what's the hardest thing about shipping a game on iOS? Anybody? Hands? Got to answer fast.
Getting noticed.
Getting noticed. It's getting noticed. It's hard. So a lot of these concepts you're going to find a little bit offensive, maybe. We play with the boundaries here. I really wanted the students to feel free to try things, to skirt with that. Controversy is one of the easiest things to do. As as your mastery improves, you figure out how to do it without the cheap shots and the bathroom humor. But there's some of that. And some of them I think are kind of funny, and some of them are even sublime. So I'm going to go through a couple of them. First, I'm going to show you some of the box art I like. It's called Salvation Denied, and it's written in this beautiful font, and it's got a heavenly clouds scene. The premise of this game is that it's the rapture. And you have the church up top. Everybody's streaming to the church to be saved. And your job is that you have lightning and holy fire and auto turrets. And your job is to kill all the sinners, all the people that haven't accepted Christ, right? And let all the Christians go through, right? And what's brilliant about this, besides the fact now that you see that logo and you're like, ah, yes, salvation denied. So is that there's a huge contingent of people out there that would love to educate their kids on why we should fear the rapture, and it's a big deal, right? They occupy the red states, but lots of other places, and they are horribly underserved. Then you've got a huge contingent of liberals who laugh at this stuff. So now you've got both sides that are engaged. They've got something to debate maybe, or something to get excited about, but I thought that skirted controversy quite well. This is another piece of box art from Danielle Olson called Whack-A-Kitty. The game execution, maybe not so hot. It was one of the very first games in the class, but come on. Done. You know how this works, right? You hit that kitten. And something about the font, I'm ready to go. And that was a 1-week game. Oh yeah, all right, Where Jew. This is one of my favorite box arts. Now, Where Jew, it sounds like, oh no, what have they done? Are they making Jews out to be monsters? No, this is a classic example of a high concept where, first of all, it's just fun to say Where Jew. Second of all, it creates a knee-jerk reaction in a lot of people, like, oh no, you didn't, right? And the nice thing about this is that it's a candy coating of oh no, you didn't, with an inner chewy center of wait a minute, this is actually about a Jewish prisoner in a concentration camp who's turned into a werewolf, who's killing all the Nazi guards to free the prisoners. Where Jew? Okay? So I'm a big fan of that, where you scratch the surface and you're like, oh wait, there's something a little bit more here, Here's one from Louis Nahara and Gary Kular. This is called iMob. This is made with the Game Maker engine. And what you are is you're a Windows user, note the DOS boxes, and you're running away from Apple people in turtlenecks. And the way you escape them is you drop Apple paraphernalia behind you, whether it's iPods or Mac. Eventually, I think you get a keyboard to hit them with. So I'm going to take you now to something called Numb Fingers. This is a game that was done in 2 weeks. In the labs were these Alienware computers with Alienware keyboards, and those are the actual painfully bright neon keys that were on the numeric keypads. And the way the system worked on this portal is that I would give, to the games that were good, I would give a bronze, silver, or gold medal. Bronze, no medal means you shipped it, and it's probably crap. Bronze means, hey, there's something promising there. Silver means, oh my God, if only you fixed a few things, it would have been just right. Gold means you could put a price tag on it and sell it right now. This was one of the only 2 games out of 129 that we got out of 27 students, by the way, that got a gold medal. And the reason I gave it a gold is because I could very easily see going to Alienware and saying, install this on your machine and give them a check of some sort. They made a great little tool to sort of sequence all these notes and make the things hit the beat. And you can learn 10-key typing from it. This was our other gold medal winner. And this one's called Stay in the Light 2. Basically, you're trying to stay in the light. The first level doesn't have any light issues. These levels have little light sources that light up for a little while once you touch them. Some of the lights move. But as soon as you're caught in the dark for very much time at all, it all goes red and you die and you have to start the level over. And then eventually you have to place lights, you have to collect lights, and it's all sort of a timing thing. This one was incredibly well polished, and what I liked about it is that even though it doesn't have a super hooky, high concept name kind of a thing, it's got that pretentious, like, I'm gonna win some kind of indie game award from it. And that was one of our strongest games. Really fun, by the way, and I recommend you play it. All this stuff shipped, by the way. All these games are free, and they're all available at GameDesignLaboratories.com. So when the class started to end, in my producing job, I was working with John Chalfant, brilliant artist. Worked on all kinds of things. He's one of the designers of the Lich King at Blizzard. He was in the Blizzard Cinematics department during Diablo 2, Warcraft 3, if you remember those kick-ass Warcraft 3 trailers. Has worked with David Lynch on a bunch of things. Just prodigious dude. And you know those super sexy, like, black and white Batman, Arkham City? He posed those things that are everywhere now. Anyway, he made these super cute little dudes called bandies. I love the super cute little dudes. And we were getting to the end of the semester. The summer was coming up. I was really encouraging my students to actually ship a game commercially over the summer. And I thought, wow, 3 months. These kids have been shipping games in 1, 2, 4 weeks. That'll be no problem. And we've got this badass artist. Well, 1 year later, it took a little longer than we thought. But we actually did just ship this thing. It actually just went live today. I was kind of curious, like, whether I'm full of it. I mean, that's the danger of teaching, is like, hey, and it's like this, and then you're like, maybe it's not, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And I would have failed my class, right? Because it didn't ship at the end of the 3 months, and I was technically producing. I found some holes in my class, found some holes in me, found some in the curriculum, and we got to the end of it. And I'm actually very proud with what we ended up with. I'm going to show you this. So this was made by Zach, Danielle, and Thatcher. And we actually got a big publisher called Backflip. They did Paper Toss, Ninjump, Army of Darkness, Dragon Veil, all kinds of cool stuff. Very excited about that. But basically, this is how it works. You've got these cute little dudes called bandies, and you start with the really simple stuff, just dragging these little dudes to the exit. And then you go to the next one. And now we're just teaching them, okay, you got one through, let's teach you how to grab a bunch at the same time. Now they're banding together. Whee! And then you get kind of sick. And you introduce thumbtack death machines and thumbtack saw machines. And you grind these little dudes up. So you can stab them in the head, and you can sort of toss them into the foreground. And they're not moving. And then we just introduce more and more of these. You want to save as many as you can is the goal. But very, very, very simple gameplay mechanics. And but by the way, I encourage you to check out the App Store and buy it. Thank you. Yeah, and to the students for pulling this off. I really, the applause belongs to them, because in addition to all this, I scared the crap out of them by saying, if you impress me, I'll lay you up to whoever you want to talk to in game developer world. But you should really worry about impressing your peers, because what's going to happen is the best students are going to get hired somewhere. The manager's going to say, do you know anybody else? They're going to either think of you fondly, or they're going to think you're just useless. And you want to be in that former category. And I don't know if that's sunk in. However, I throw these fancy pants parties where it's all like owners and leads and executives of just holy mackerel kind of game developers all over the world. And I said, the 3 best students will get to come to this thing, so proceed to stab each other in the back. And so they all, and I later learned that this was quite the motivator. I was creating this stew of, like, you've got to collaborate and cooperate because you want to be thought of nicely, and at the same time you're competing guess what? This is the game industry. We're all collaborating, we're all competing. You just got to get over this weird duality thing. Anyway, they worked themselves to the bone. I never told them this. They probably could have guessed. I never could have actually probably finished one of these assignments I gave to them. But they all did it admirably. And with that, I would like to invite you back to the food and drinks to liquor up and have food and schmooze and have fun. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you.